It was a routine flight, or so they thought. Pan Am Flight 914, a sleek silver bird, soared into the bright blue sky. The date was July 2nd, 1955. Destination Miami, Florida. But this plane and everyone on it would vanish, gone without a trace. For 37 years, the mystery of Flight 914 haunted the world. Then, the impossible happened. The passengers boarded, excited for their vacations. Families, couples, individuals, all ready for sunshine and relaxation. Captain Robert Whitman, a seasoned pilot, greeted them. His co-pilot, Ralph Stevens, adjusted his cap. The air crackled with anticipation as the plane taxied down the runway at LaGuardia Airport. Soon, they were airborne, leaving New York City behind. Hours passed. The flight was smooth, the sky clear. Then, silence. Pan Am Flight 914 stopped responding to air traffic control. Frantic calls went unanswered. Search parties scoured the Atlantic Ocean. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. No wreckage, no survivors. The official report concluded, lost at sea, but some whispered of other possibilities. May 23, 1992. Caracas, Venezuela. The city was bustling with its usual energy, unaware of the extraordinary event about to unfold. At Simon Bolivar International Airport, air traffic controllers were going about their routine tasks, monitoring the skies and ensuring the safe passage of aircraft. Suddenly, their screens lit up with an unexpected signal. A blip on their radar. An unidentified aircraft had appeared out of nowhere, causing immediate concern and confusion among the controllers. The aircraft was identified as Pan Am Flight 914. This was perplexing because Pan Am, once a giant in the aviation industry, had ceased operations months earlier. The airline's closure was a well-known fact, making the appearance of one of its flights in the sky an impossible scenario. How could this be happening? The plane, seemingly appearing out of thin air, circled the airport. It was as if it had emerged from a different time, a ghost from the past. The air traffic controllers, now on high alert, tried to make contact with the mysterious aircraft. They needed answers, and they needed them fast. After several attempts, a voice finally crackled through the static. It was faint but unmistakable. The voice belonged to Captain Whitman, the pilot of Pan Am Flight 914. He sounded confused, disoriented, as if he had no idea where he was or what had happened. Captain Whitman reported that he was due in Miami that day. His voice carried a mix of bewilderment and urgency, as if he was struggling to comprehend the situation himself. The controllers, equally baffled, tried to gather more information. They asked for details about his flight, the date, and his last known position. Captain Whitman responded with information that only deepened the mystery. He claimed it was July 2nd, 1955, the day his flight had originally departed. Pan Am Flight 914 had been missing for 37 years. It was a flight that had vanished without a trace, leaving behind countless questions and heartbroken families. The sudden reappearance of the flight brought a flood of emotions and memories. Families who had long given up hope were now faced with the unimaginable possibility of seeing their loved ones again. The controllers guided the plane to land, their minds racing with the implications of what they were witnessing. As the aircraft touched down, the reality of the situation began to sink in. Passengers disembarked, looking just as they had on the day they disappeared. They were unaware of the passage of time, believing they had been in the air for only a few hours. The reunion scenes were both heartwarming and surreal. Tears of joy mixed with tears of disbelief as families embraced, trying to make sense of the miracle that had brought them back together. Investigators quickly moved in to examine the aircraft, searching for clues that might explain its mysterious journey. The plane itself seemed untouched by time, as if it had been preserved in a bubble. The investigation would take months, and the answers, if they ever came, would be as elusive as the flight's sudden reappearance. But for now, the focus was on the miraculous return of Pan Am Flight 914 and the lives it had touched. As the sun set over Caracas, the city was left to ponder the extraordinary event that had unfolded. It was a day that would be remembered for generations, a day when the impossible became reality. Pan Am Flight 914 had returned, bringing with it a story that would captivate the world and leave an indelible mark on the annals of aviation history. Section 5. Frozen in time. The plane landed. Emergency vehicles surrounded it. The scene was chaotic, with flashing lights and sirens blaring. The emergency response team moved swiftly, their faces a mix of urgency and confusion. They had never seen anything like this before. What they found sent chills down their spines. The plane was pristine, untouched by time. It looked as if it had just rolled off the assembly line, despite being decades old. The paint was unblemished, the metal gleamed, and there wasn't a single sign of wear or tear. It was as if the plane had been frozen in time, preserved in a perfect state. And the passengers? They hadn't aged a day. They looked exactly as they did when they boarded the plane all those years ago. Their faces were youthful, their expressions a mix of confusion and relief. It was as if they had stepped out of a time machine, untouched by the passage of years. They were in the same clothes, carrying 1950s luggage. Their attire was a snapshot of a bygone era, with men in sharp suits and fedoras, and women in elegant dresses and gloves. The luggage they carried was vintage, made of leather and adorned with travel stickers from a different time. Bewildered, they stepped off the plane. Their eyes darted around, taking in the unfamiliar surroundings. They were in a different world, a world that had moved on without them. The confusion on their faces was palpable as they tried to make sense of what had happened. They spoke of a strange static. Then, nothing. One moment, they were in the air, and the next, they were here. They described a sensation of being suspended in time, a feeling of weightlessness and disorientation. The static was the last thing they remembered before everything went black, as if no time had passed at all. It was a mystery that defied explanation, a phenomenon that left everyone baffled. How could an entire plane and its passengers remain unchanged for so long? The questions lingered, unanswered, as the world tried to come to terms with this extraordinary event. Section 6. Questions for Caracas. Venezuelan authorities questioned the passengers and crew. Their stories were consistent. Confusion, disorientation, a sudden reappearance. They had no memory of the missing 37 years. It was as if they had just taken off from New York. Their belongings, their clothes, their money, all from another era. The mystery deepened. Section 7. The Mandela Effect. Could it be? Had Flight 914 slipped through a crack in time? Was this a case of the Mandela Effect, where large groups of people misremember historical events? Scientists, researchers, and conspiracy theorists flocked to Caracas. They studied the plane, interviewed the passengers. The evidence was baffling. No logical explanation could be found. Section 8. A rip in time. The mystery of Pan Am. Flight 914 remains unsolved. Some dismiss it as an urban legend, but the evidence, as flimsy as it might seem, persists. Did the plane really disappear for 37 years? Did it enter some kind of time warp, a portal to another dimension? We are left with more questions than answers. Section 9. Unsolved. The story of Pan Am Flight 914 serves as a chilling reminder. A reminder that not all questions have answers, and not all mysteries are meant to be solved. This flight, which vanished without a trace, has left a legacy of unanswered questions and eerie speculations. There are still mysteries in this world that science can't explain. Despite our advancements in technology and understanding, some events defy logic and reason. Scientists and researchers have spent countless hours trying to unravel these enigmas, yet they remain as elusive as ever. Things that go bump in the night, and sometimes in broad daylight. These occurrences challenge our perception of reality and force us to confront the unknown. Whether it's a shadowy figure in a dark alley or an inexplicable event in the middle of a bustling city, these mysteries captivate our imagination and fuel our curiosity. Things that make us question what we think we know about time, space, and reality itself. The universe is vast and full of wonders, many of which we have yet to comprehend. The more we learn, the more we realize how much we don't know. These mysteries remind us of the limits of our knowledge and the boundless possibilities that lie beyond. The next time you board a plane, look out the window. As you gaze at the clouds and the endless sky, think about the countless stories that have unfolded in the air. Each flight carries its own history, its own secrets. And remember Flight 914, a flight that took off with a clear destination but never arrived. Its disappearance remains one of the greatest aviation mysteries of all time. What if it happens again? What if another flight vanishes without a trace? These questions linger in the back of our minds, a haunting reminder of the unknown. As we continue to explore and discover, we must also remember to respect the mysteries that remain unsolved.